You had Pat Curry. So what like inspired the Sixers jersey concept with
It,
Pat?
it was really, no pun intended, it was really driven by Harley Davidson. So Pat was like a hardcore Harley Davidson bicycle rider. And I remember the first meeting we had in Manhattan, the offices were on 645 Fifth Avenue, right by St. Patrick's Cathedral, great, beautiful Olympic Tower office. And Pat comes to the meeting and he's got this black and black, black polo shirt. And he was always pumped up. I feel great. And he'd come into these meetings and you're like, who the hell is this guy? He's nothing like the rest of the owners, And it was like so refreshing, And so we started talking a little bit about, like, yeah, this patriotic bullshit and all this stuff, it gets to be kind of old, I'm like so tired of it, and Declaration of Independence and all that. I understand that's important here, but I want to downplay the red and the blue a little bit, like I see things like, the Oakland Raiders and that toughness that they had and the grittiness that they had. I want to start to reflect that. And I said, okay, so you want a black and silver? And he goes, no, I want to be like the Harley Davidson, look. So I quickly checked. I had some files. I checked and got a Harley Davidson logo. And I said, it's black and orange. He goes, oh, hell no, I don't want a black and orange. I don't want to be the Flyers of basketball. No. So he says, hey, come out with me. So he grabs me and like Rick Wells, the president of properties. And he says, come downstairs. And we jump I'm on the 20th floor. We go on this elevator and we go outside and it's like chaos, right along Fifth Avenue. And there's this big chopper literally like right outside the door, it's black and gold kick-ass chopper. And he's like, that's what I want. I want that motorcycle to be the logo and the branding of the 76ers. I want that toughness and that grittiness. And when you hear that hog coming down the street, you pay attention to it. I'm like, oh, so you'd be okay if we shifted to black and, oh yeah, hell yeah, I would be fine with that. So Pat really drove the spirit, like when we sit with a team, normally it's kind of a 2 or 3 page creative brief and look for this. And, we don't want to do that. Or we don't want to mimic this. We didn't need any creative brief with Pat because he kind of just laid out what he wanted from us. He said, motion is important. I want to include some motion and movement. I don't want some sterile corporate logo. I don't want something. He says, I like the Flyers look, but it's like even that P with the little wings is kind of like it's too static. I want something that's flowing. And so that's how we started cobbling away at creating the Sixers word mark that's on the front of the uniform. It's interesting because the Philadelphia Sixers have always bounced back and forth. Either they're the 76ers with the number 76, or they're the Sixers. It's kind of odd. It's one of the weird you don't, like it's interesting with the 49ers. You never really see the 49 and 49ers. You just see the SF. But with the Sixers, they kind of go back and forth. And even the secondary logo we created is just the 76 with a star. So that brand has got some flexibility that we created. It wasn't just locked in. It's just like the old, Dr. J or Moses Malone Sixers or Phila.
With the stars on the side and everything. Yeah.
So the black and the gold was fun because we had to be careful because black and gold were the New Orleans Saints, so we didn't want to get too close to that.
Could be the Steelers.
Steelers, right?
Yeah.
And so having enough of the red and blue was important. So we mixed that in, pretty liberally, and over time, obviously, you went to the alternate blue and then even the alternate red uniform because. Over time, the black, and we were just selling jerseys like crazy. So if you had a Sixers Iverson blue jersey, you had to get the red one, you had to get the black one, right? Like you had of all of them. So while Alan was there, we definitely took advantage of it. And
I got to talk to you about this one though.
Yeah.
So this is called Dazzle Knit, correct?
That is called Dazzle Knit, correct.
It's heavy. It's very heavy. And I got to tell you, once you brought these out and the Sixers brought these out, every travel team, every youth team, every college team had them in their repertoire around the Delaware Valley and Philadelphia area.
Yeah.
I love your jerseys. I didn't like this one. This one was so heavy when you sweat. You ruined my professional basketball career with my vertical.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe you should have invested in a little better pair of shoes. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, a little more ankle weights and stuff. More jump rope.
Dazzle Knit was a thing of its time. So if you look at the WNBA year one, they're all wearing the Dazzle Knit material basically. So Champion was kind of leading us there because Champion was not a real big. Where Nike comes in and the first thing they do is talk performance. It's like, we're going to make this 2 grams lighter or some kind of story, or we're going to have air mesh and all this stuff. That wasn't happening in the 90s. That wasn't really, you guys, like you have a mesh jersey or a micro mesh jersey
Mhm.
or a dazzle jersey. That wasn't performance wear in the dry fit era didn't start until late in the late 90s, really. Anyway, like today, everybody's dry fit, moisture wicking, all this stuff. So all those performance attributes are really important, but it wasn't as important then. It was more about, these are performers and these are their costumes.